SLAPAFISH community, welcome back to another World of Tanks video. So in this video, I'm going to be doing a tank review on the Object 244, a tier 6 Soviet heavy tank that you actually can win by completing stage 50 of the Valor. So I actually want to say this real quick before I even go any farther. On stage 100, you'll get 2 premium tanks as long as you have a day of premium. Make sure before you finish stage 100, make sure you have a day of premium so you can get both of those premium tanks. Because if you don't have a day of premium, then you will only receive the tier 10, not the tier 9. You got to have a premium account to receive the tier 9. Okay, since that's out of the way, back to the Object 244. The Object 244 is just basically a IS at tier 6. So it makes sense for me to compare the IS to the 244 and also compare the 85. And this is the 85 with the big 122mm gun. Yes, it is. Okay, as you can see, the hit points of the 244 is higher than the KV85, but lower than the IS because it's a tier lower. Forward speed on the 244 is the best out of this comparison. It's actually faster than the IS. And the reverse speed is really good. It's not that good, but it's 14. And it costs 5,500 gold to actually research this tank. It has a 22% silver boost and a 30% XP boost, which is pretty good. Concealment is the same as the IS at 0.14 and 0.07. Engine. You have a 520 horsepower engine and a 15 fire percent, which is worse than the IS at 12. But you only get an 85mm gun. So your gun tier is a tier 7. You get a rate of fire of 8.57 rounds per minute. Reload rate is 7. Aim time is 2.3. And accuracy is 0.35, which is better than the other two. Which gives you a DPM of 1,543, which is better than the KV85, but worse than the IS. You have 5 degrees of gun depression and 15 degrees of gun elevation, which is terrible. It's the worst out of this comparison. Has a max range of 720 for your gun. Its penetration is the worst out of this comparison, 144 on standard and 194 on its premium. And its damage is very low at 180 damage. As I said, the DPM is not that good either. You have 28 transfer speed, which is lower than the IS. Your turret speed is lower than the IS also, and also lower than the KV85. View range is 340, which sucks. Same as the KV85 though. Signal range is 730, which is better than the other two tanks. Definitely above the KV85 standards. Your whole armor is actually better on the Object 244. 120 at the front and 100 at the sides, which is better than the IS, and 60 at the rear. And turret armor is all the same at 100 at the front, 90 at the sides, and 90 at the back. So that's basically the tank stats. Now we get to go jump into some gameplay of this tank. Alright, we ended up on Murthka winner, and we are mid-tier. So the Object 244. Let me explain the IS. The IS and the KV85. The IS and KV85, a lot of people like the tank because of the high outflow damaging guns. They don't really have the armor to compete with other tanks. Basically, you have the hit point. The IS and what makes the IS and the KV85 so special is they have no armor, like I just said, and they have the big outflow damaging gun. And I have no idea how I just hit that shot. So yeah. So basically, with those two tanks, you can pop out and trade with somebody, and it won't. Most tanks, especially at tier 6, 390 damage hitting into like a tier 6, a 5, or a 4, and they put a shot into you, usually you're going to have more hit points out in this encounter. But with the 244, you could throw that trading. Trading with this tank is not a very good idea because you have very low alpha damage at 180. I mean, you'll outclass a lot of medium tanks. It's out the Soviet medium tanks, and a lot of tier 6 heavies will outclass you in alpha damage. And yeah, there's a tier 7 French heavy tank that's not really known for having armor. It doesn't really have armor, but I am failing over and over to penetrate its armor. This gun, I don't understand. I feel like it needs a better rate of fire so it can have a higher DPM, because I don't really like the gun. It doesn't really do a lot. It needs higher alpha to like feel like you can trade with other people, other tanks. There's a T-29, there's a Panzer III-4, and yeah, we're only hitting for like 170, 180. We're not even hitting for 200. 200 would be nice. There's an Oni right there. I mean, you are at tier 7, you are IS at tier 6, but the armor doesn't really hold up, especially when people load the premium rounds. You think it would hold up, but it does hold up better than the IS does at tier 7. I could say that for a fact. You'll bounce more shots than the IS, but this tank its armor just starts falling apart. Especially if people start loading premium rounds. I've had people go through the frontal armor right there in the middle part, not hitting the lower glacis plate or my turret armor, just hitting the strongest part of my armor, and they're just going straight through. Like tier 6s and 7s and 5s will just go straight through your armor. And just take out that tier 6 medium tank that was trying to get back behind us. The Oni trying to put a shot into him. Did about 170 damage, I think it was. Can't really see. There's that heavy tank. And also absolutions. When you're fighting an absolution in this tank, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose in this tank. I'm telling you. The absolution has more armor and a better rate of fire. I mean, the absolution has space armor. The KV-85, even though it has worse DPM than the Object 244, it will win versus the Absolution. If the Absolution and the KV-85 goes against each other, the 85 will more than likely win. The Absolution's space armor is kind of confusing to work around. If you have a 122mm gun, you will punch right through the space armor that the Absolution has. So, space armor is useless for the Absolution when it's going against KV-85. But when you have an 85mm gun, yeah, you gotta aim for the weak points on the Absolution. And the Absolution can easily hide its weak points, especially when it's face hugging you. And here's a Panzer V-4. I don't know where that shell went. I think I might have ricocheted. And I'm like, okay. And also, this gun's not very accurate. Even for being a 85mm gun, it's not very accurate. There, we finally penetrated that French heavy tank with a premium round. And I'm gonna leave the premium rounds loaded. We have only bounced 315 damage. And I missed the I bounced off the cupola of the hammer, and we dive by the hammer. So yeah, my thoughts on this tank, I don't really like it. I hate this tank. I really do hate this tank. Got the review of this tank done, and I'm taking my equipment and everything off of it. We had to defeat that tank. 23,000 silver made, 2,351 damage done, and we got top of the leaderboards. And alright guys, if you like this video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Also remember SLAPAFISH, because why would you not? And peace out. See ya.